In your article, you called him up and or tried to speak to him, and he said fake news when you said you were from the Rolling Stone. Is that right?
Correct. Well, first of all, I'm sorry, chat. I am a soy boy woke lefty. So I would like to say I do consider what you do a form of journalism.
Based.
Uh, so I think the press has a massive amount of power that without proper digital culture knowledge isn't being used well and can be dangerous.
I do think that there's an implicit bias that's playing in your behaviour in some way with trans stuff, I must say.
Oh,
Hello there.
is this a little better?
Yes, yeah, I think so. How's it going?
All good. Busy day, busy week. How's it with you?
Yes, I mean, this story is kind of blown up. So, I mean, I am a shameless drama farmer. So I am, making hay while the sun shines, so to speak.
Hey, you're in
Um,
good company.
okay, good stuff. Yeah, do you want to just introduce yourself to chat quickly?
Sure. My name is Steven Asarch. I have been a digital culture reporter for the past 9 years. I've worked at Newsweek, Business Insider, and written for BuzzFeed News, Complex, Kotaku, too many other websites to name.
Wow.
I assume your chat would probably know me best from the Onision docuseries that I wasn't the biggest fan of, but was in.
Okay. Yeah, I had a couple of people mention to me that you were involved in Anicia and Chris Hansen as well. Was that part of that?
Yeah, yeah, that guy.
Okay. Okay. I mean, I'm actually there's two main things I was quite interested to get into. I mean, first of all, thank you very much for featuring me in the article. I think that's the first time I've been mentioned in a mainstream publication like that. So that's obviously a big ego boost, I guess. So, um, yeah. I mean, how did
Of
you find
course.
out about the stream? How did you see it?
Actually, I believe it was Verdius. Is that the guy's name?
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah,
Um, yeah, he shared that to me. Basically, when you do a story like this, you need as much information as possible.
yeah.
So I combed the web and reached out to as many sources as I could. And yeah, I think Verdius introduced me to your stream. I had seen the Papa Gut stream they were both on as well. Um, Yours was just a lot longer, and you grilled him a lot harder.
Okay.
So I think yeah, I think the quotes speak for themselves.
Yeah, sure. I mean, in regards to Prism, if I'm to understand it correctly, in your article you called him up and or tried to speak to him, and he said fake news when you said you're from the Rolling Stone. Is that right?
Correct. So
Okay.
I had been, yeah, it happens when you cover internet stuff. Um, I had reached out to Prism a few times, finally got a hold of him. He said he would be down for a Discord call. I jump on the call and he goes, "You with the Rolling Stone? You're fake news." Went on a 2-minute rant about the Trump assassination. And then hung up the call.
Okay.
I've had experiences like that in the past. It's not too out of the ordinary. But
Yeah.
it,
I
it
mean,
it
I've
still
got quite a
catches you off
blended
guard.
chat. I've got people like more liberal or left, and then people on the right. So it's kind of mixed. Some people are saying based, some people are saying cringe. But yeah. I mean, to me, that kind of sums up, I think, his kind of perspective. He came across as very much like a, I mean, he said it himself, like a James O'Keefe style reporter, I think is how he envisioned himself, right? Um,
Yeah, from my understanding, it's like when a 4chan poster tries to do journalism. You know,
okay.
when you don't understand the ethics of the situation and you don't understand the rules, and you're kind of just reaching out to Chris Chan as an attempt to get the story out. It was clear. He didn't know what he was doing.
Sure. And the thing is obviously, I did grill him on some of the stuff, and I guess that to you, what I'd say is you can see quite clearly had issues with how he went about it. Um, I think your article was had some balance in there. You kind of reported on the things that were said in the Discord quite plainly, which I think leads people to allow them to make their own conclusions. But there was another article that I saw that I felt was almost in the other direction. I know you're not responsible for that necessarily, but I guess what I'm trying to get across is, do you feel that there's a risk with this story where you can kind of be against some of the negative trans aspects that are being discussed, but then you do it to a point where you're giving cover for Ava Kris Tyson's actions? Do you think that's possible?
I think it's a fair assumption. To me, I think it's I can condemn Ava's actions and the things that they said online to minors, and I'm reading through the Discord logs as I assume the rest
Yeah.
of the world is right now.
Yeah.
And it's fairly, cringy and inappropriate stuff to be engaging in. But I think you can also, on the same hand, realize that a lot of this is being pushed as an anti-trans rhetoric to try and rile up a base when it's not really a story about, the
Okay.
trans issue.
But this is the thing, I guess, is how much does that matter if the actions are as egregious as at least I perceive them to be? Do you think?
What do you mean?
Like, what is the reason? Like, what? Because I get it. There's people out there who are pushing a very strong narrative on this, but you understand that it comes across a bit like it's like, well, that's the main worry, that's the main concern. We've got to make sure the trans people are okay when there's like actual substantive egregious stuff to condemn.
I never speak in absolutes. I know it's hard on the internet because, everybody speaks in absolutes. But the way I've always viewed coverage and stories like this is it's a gray area where, there's a lot of complicated nuance to the story in general. And I think you can pick and choose. I don't think you should. I think if people are using the fact that Ava is trans as a defense for what they've said in the Discord and publicly on Twitter, I don't agree with that.
Sure.
But I also think that, using the fact that Ava as trans and claiming that they've groomed people when that just isn't, the evidence doesn't substantiate that claim. It just seems a little iffy, if that makes
Okay,
sense.
that's fine. I would agree that using the trans stuff is a mistake, whichever side of the aisle you're coming at it from. And I don't know how much you've looked at these new Discord logs. And I appreciate, grooming is a strong word to use, but do you not feel that some of these new logs add further weight beyond the trans stuff to the idea that they potentially participated in some sort of grooming behaviors at least?
I think the word grooming has gotten so charged these days, and
Okay.
it's been thrown around. Like, there's been no evidence, and again, something could come out. I'm not saying it's impossible that, Ava engaged in sexual behavior with a minor after speaking to them online. There's conversations that are definitely edgy and teetering on the cusp, but I just think grooming is such a strong allegation. Like, Onision is a groomer. That's like the evidence backs up that claim, and I have no problem saying that publicly. But I just think when it comes to making and using such a strong word, there needs to be more evidence. Is that fair?
Yeah, of course. Obviously, as I said to Prism, I'm happy to have a conversation, but it's always good to have a disagreement if there's and face it honestly, right? I guess that like the issue that I've got, I mean, I appreciate some of these. Maybe you've only just seen them and you're still processing them, but I think that these new logs add further weight to the grooming allegation beyond the trans stuff because I feel like it gives this kind of sorry, one sec. I feel like the issue is it gives further weight to that claim because they are, not concerned particularly with the fact that there's mods that are on the team that are minors and they're kind of expecting them to moderate an NSFW channel. There's no real concern about that. Whilst I think that there's potential for that in and of itself to be said as inappropriate behavior or to be, edgy behavior or something like that, I think when you take the whole picture together, particularly with the Shadman connection and that sort of thing, I just think it paints a broader picture that I think you can arrive at grooming more easily as an allegation when it's taken all together, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I agree wholeheartedly that, Ava engaged inappropriately. I've read a lot of the Discord calls, the first, trying to talk about the NSFW server and like I'm not their parent is just like odd behavior when you're talking to a 15 to 16-year-old.
Mm.
Uh I just think it's the word grooming. That's basically it. Like I think what they've done is wrong, and I think what they've done can be seen as like sexually inappropriate. But I just think the word grooming has kind of lost a lot of its meaning
Okay.
in culture wars.
What would you need to see in order for you to be comfortable using the word grooming?
It's, I say I wouldn't know until I've seen it.
Okay.
Like I don't want to make a direct claim and see like I need this evidence. That's not my job. Uh, it's to just look at the evidence and be able to discern from there. Uh, yeah, I know it's not as flashy as or fancy, but that's how I feel.
Okay. Um, but you use the term, I believe, sexually inappropriate. Is that how you would refer to this, or like what's your kind of exact
Absolutely,
phrasing? Okay.
yeah. I think sexually inappropriate is entirely fair. I think over the line, like I've written about this many times over the years, the relationship between an influencer and a fan is inherently built on a power dynamic that is weighted in the influencer's favor. They have a massive amount of power, and influencers in the past have used that power to get, you know, inappropriate, to start inappropriate relationships and say things they probably shouldn't to children. Like the Colleen Ballinger story is the one that came to mind immediately when it came to in the best comparison to the Ava story. Colleen used her privilege and access to get free labor out of her fans, send them sexually inappropriate messages, and love bomb them to the point that they would do anything for Colleen. That is closer to what's going on with Ava. Like no one really called the Colleen situation. I mean, there were grooming allegations in the Colleen situation, but I also just wouldn't use that word. I don't know.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
just being a stickler for definitions. A lame aspect. I know.
Okay. Well, listen. I mean, do you feel like you're holding back because of Ava Tyson's identity in making certain claims, perhaps?
No.
Okay. Um, okay. Yeah, I don't know. I think that, sexually inappropriate is a totally reasonable way of describing this. I just personally think that a more weighted or heavier criticism is due, particularly with these new logs that have come out. Um, but I'm not
And
gonna,
I think that's totally fair.
okay,
Like,
yeah,
I think it's a very nuanced topic, and there's a lot of information currently being swirled around.
yeah, yeah,
We're
yeah.
all onlookers looking years after the situation and
And
making our own assumptions based on that.
the reason I ask about the identity aspect is only because when I was kind of reading through your article, it felt like a number of times you kind of repeated or talked about the kind of trans aspect of Kris Tyson. And I mean, to me personally, I mean, I referred to it earlier kind of bluntly as too soy, okay? Um, but I just feel it was kind of over egging the pudding of making that case, and the kind of the pointing out of at the time what was substantially there of Kris Tyson's actions was smaller in the piece and smaller in the article. So
Over egging the pudding.
okay,
No, that's
okay,
a good
that
one.
it's when you put too many eggs into a cake mix and it ruins the cake when it's baking. Okay, so basically it was.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it was your article was diminished by referencing too much the trans aspect of the story. Is a simpler way of putting it. How would you respond to that?
I think that's a fair criticism.
Okay.
Um, I think because the story is so nuanced, and I only have so many words that I can really work with. But like, if you look under the responses to Lava, or you look under the responses to Ava, they are kind of full of anti-trans rhetoric. Uh, there are creators who have used this as an attempt to misgender and, trash on Chris for being trans. I think you can criticize Ava for what they've done without attacking the fact they're trans. I
So, I mean,
think
I,
it's
I was
important. Yeah.
I was going to say I was making this exact point earlier, much to the annoyance of some people in my chat, because I do have a partial right-wing audience, significant right-wing audience. But I think the response in some cases, and I've got some, allowance for this, I guess. It's like, well, if you're talking about someone that has potentially, you know, harmed someone, like, does it really matter that much that you need to point it out so strongly? Do you think?
No, 100%. I feel the same way. When it comes to anybody, their sexual or gender orientation shouldn't matter as much as the things they do. We should be judging Ava's actions based on, what she's done rather than her identity. I think it is fair to
Okay.
condemn Ava for the things that they've done publicly and now what we're learning privately in the Discord. It's just about being able to, remove the identity politics from the conversation, which I understand is very difficult in like the charged internet media landscape we exist in. But I just think it's so important when discussing this stuff because if you're able to separate it, you're also able to, when you see the people who try to, throw off your criticism as anti-trans rhetoric, you can be like, no, I'm actually criticizing them based on what occurred, not their identity. So it makes your argument stronger.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that, and I think that all sides of this conversation would do well to strip the identity aspects out of this, um, because it has just become a complete insanity online. Like on the one hand, you've got people that are heavily focusing on the trans aspect, and that's what they want to talk about, and on the other side, it's well, you're misgendering them by saying they, and it's like just this insanity. So okay, um,
Well, it's like the meme that went around with Chris Chan, like, did you hear that, he raped a woman? You mean she? Yeah, she raped a woman. Like,
yeah.
I understand it.
Got it. Okay. I guess another question I've got, and this can lead me on to the second thing I wanted to get into here. Do you have like editorial guidelines you have to follow writing for Rolling Stone in regards to how you talk about like trans people in terms of correctly gendering them and so on?
Um, I don't know. Like, I think in general, there's a journalistic guideline when it comes to writing this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Um, Using proper pronouns is just important. Like, so I covered Chris Chan's arrest for Business Insider.
Okay.
Um,
Damn.
and that was a whole can of worms. Um, if anyone ever wants it, I still have the only interview with Isabel Jenke that is sort of just sitting in one of my drives. Um, but when it came to covering Chris Chan, I used they them pronouns, um, which upset a lot of people. Which it's the internet; it makes sense. But no, I wasn't like handed a guideline book or whatever, um, telling me what to say or what to do. It's just sort of 9 years of journalistic writing. You sort of understand what works and what doesn't.
Okay. Um, Now another thing that I mean, listen, I'm going to be blunt with you. Don't look at chat necessarily, okay? But some people in chat do not like you for the grooming. They're not using the grooming take, okay? So but on the same token, some of these people that say that sort of thing have the same perspective that I find really annoying, where they've got a total misunderstanding of the mainstream press and they're very dismissive of sources and like oh, it's written by this mainstream press outlet, so it's complete bullshit. Could you just kind of like lay out a little bit for those people, like what you have to do to get something over the line to get it published in a mainstream outlet normally?
Sure. Well, first of all, I'm sorry, chat. I am a soy boy woke lefty, so I imagine you probably would like me to begin with, but that's okay. I think we'd be friends and have a great egg cream. Um, but in terms of how we do stories, well, first of all, before I, do anything. I'll specifically talk with this Rolling Stone story because this was my first story for the outlet. Um, I had to gather all my sources. I had to reach out and do interviews. I spoke with as many people as I could. I gathered notes. I watched hours of your podcast. And I gathered all the information I could together. Then I went to Rolling Stone with the pitch, and they accepted it. Uh, from there, it was a full days of writing, making sure my facts are straight, fact checking everything 4 or 5 times, making sure all my hyperlinks are real and not, bullshit and go somewhere dead. I've had stories where halfway through the reporting process, um, the person I'm writing about will take down the stuff, even off of like the archive. So it's important about having all that stuff. Then it will go through multiple rounds of edits with an editor. Um, they'll make sure the wording is clear, that it all flows properly, that each, each fact is correct. And then it will go off to a legal check where a lawyer looks over it to make sure that there's nothing problematic that could get anyone in trouble. And then the story goes up. It's a long, arduous process that involves a lot of fact checking and a lot of editing to make sure every single thing is as true as it can be. And I
Um,
know when looking at the mainstream press, it might not seem that way. And I don't think every outlet, has that much rigor. But when it comes to my work and the stuff that I do, I've always tried to, you know, keep that level of editorial, oomph, if you will.
yeah, sure. Do you at least understand, even if you don't necessarily agree with the extremity of it, but do you at least understand why people are kind of skeptical sometimes of the mainstream press?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. I think we have, like, basically the media has devolved over the past decade. The internet has ruined many, many outlets. I've always believed that journalism should not be a money first sort of like art, if you will,
Mm.
because when you piss off people with the money, which you need to do good journalism, the money kind of goes away. I have never slighted anyone for feeling poorly about how journalism is in today's modern age. Like, the internet is fairly new when it comes to human consciousness. We've only had it for our lifetimes, and nobody really knows like how to get it to work as optimally as it could. And journalism is unfortunately a serious byproduct of that. Combine that with lowered media literacy, when people are reading headlines and screaming about them, and seeing angry people on Twitter reacting, they're not
Yeah.
consuming that media in a more nuanced, acceptable way. They're trying to find something to be angry about. So uh, journalism as an industry has many, many problems, and I do not fault anyone for being hesitant about looking into it. I always tell people to look at as many sources as they can on a story.
Yeah.
Don't just ingest one piece of information from one website. Try to
Yeah.
find as many different voices on a topic as possible, because everybody has their biases. Everybody has information that they see and that they don't see. And it's important to find a balance when, consuming stuff on something you really care about.
Yeah, I mean, some people in chat have got a bad reaction to some of that, but that's what I say as well. I've never done journalism at all. Well, unless you classify this as journalism, which I really don't. But I did media studies when I was at school, so I learned a few bits about bias and like headlines and stuff, and how you can't believe headlines, check different sources, and so on. And I guess the question is like, how do you think journalists could better interact with people out there in order to help grow a greater understanding of how it works, so we all are kind of
Yeah.
able to understand. What do you think people
Before we
do?
get into that, uh, I would like to say I do consider what you do a form of journalism.
Based.
I do consider internet reactionaries and commentary channels a type of journalism. They're doing research, you're reaching out to sources, you're finding primary content, and you're breaking it to the world. Do you necessarily have the same editorial, rules as, someone on a website? No. But like, that's fine. It's different mediums and different different abilities for everybody. You're gonna have to repeat that question again.
All it is like, more traditional journalistic, for yourself, for example, like what could you or others in your industry do to better help people understand what happens to reduce these confusions and, as you call it, this media illiteracy?
Sure. I want to ask Chat GPT this question,
Okay.
and because I don't have an answer. If I could figure out how to fix journalism and make people understand why this stuff is important, I'd be pretty good. But I just think the way our system is structured right now, how, media literacy and content is getting so deprioritized that it's kind of an impossible question to answer. I think more people are getting their news from content creators than ever before. And that is both good and both bad, because you're dealing with people who are having access to more information, but they're also dealing with the biases of creators. I think journalists also have biases, and you're dealing with that too. It's a difficult balancing beam when it comes to journalism that has, as you've mentioned before, a very negative bias. And yeah, I don't really have an answer, which
That's fine.
I know is lame. Chat, you don't have to tell me.
Okay. Okay. Listen, I won't tell you how to do the journalism. I'll tell you this though: do not look at chat. That's the worst thing you can do. Okay. Listen, I want to be respectful of your time because you mentioned you had a sort of short period to hop on. There is someone who is also a content creator. They actually shared the thread of some of these messages. Would it be okay? Do you have time if they could hop on and ask you a couple of questions?
Sure.
Okay. Okay. I don't know if did you watch the whole stream with Prism at all?
I think so. I think I watched most of it.
Did you watch someone called Smaggle Daddle come on by any chance?
I did.
What were your thoughts on Smaggle?
I feel like I'm about to get grilled pretty hard.
No, you're not going to get grilled. It's just it's one of those questions. Okay, I'll tell you what it is. Smaggle is seen as a bit of a joke character because of the way he speaks and stuff. And I know you're a soy woke lefty, so to speak, but people say he's autistic. Okay, that's what it is. So, what's your take on him? You can be as mean as you like.
Oh, I don't know who he is. I've listened briefly. I've interviewed hundreds of influencers and listened to more.
Okay.
That name doesn't really have an opinion.
Okay, based. Right, let me just add this person Beckett very quickly then, and I think he just had a couple of questions in regards to your article. So, okay, right, Beckett, you got your request.
Hey, Jenny told me to message you after she'd done it, but yeah, I do have a few questions to go through once they join.
No, that's fine. Listen, at the end of the day, Prism, obviously had a bit of some disagreements, shall we say? So I think the journal that wrote the article should get the same the other round. I love it.
Yeah.
Oh no, he's running.
Fuck.
He's running.
Clearly, he's been watching President Sunday, so it's nice. It's nice that he's plugged into the content. It's been an interesting
I think he just dropped off because Anyway, yeah. Listen, thanks for sending me the details of the article.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. I'm glad it's useful because the Discord logs are massive, frankly.
Yeah.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good. Can we just listen? Oh, hello.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Hello there.
My
Right.
audio quality is about to get real shitty because my headphones died. So sorry about that.
Okay.
No problem. So Becky, sorry, what did you have to say?
So I suppose one of the first things, like you came on and you talked about sort of the reaction to this, where it's like, well, there's a driving factor of transphobia. Do you not think on the other direction, the kind of almost obvious sweeping from the media, has driven more of that rhetoric of, well, there must be something here, they're hiding it. And rather than producing something that's neutral, I mean, people who looked at the Rolling Stones article were like, well, this seems just like a sweep.
Are you talking about my article or the other one?
I'm not sure which one. I know there was a Forbes one, so I think it was yours.
Because I think there were 2 Rolling Stone articles, because I haven't heard that criticism of mine.
Okay, well, I think we'll just focusing on any of the articles or coverage. Do you think that media sweeping has like a detrimental effect?
I guess I haven't read any of those other stories, so I can't judge them. But I definitely think when you have people who don't necessarily understand the space and they come in and they see headlines, it can be easy for them to jump to conclusions. But I don't necessarily know how the media has been viewing this story. When I publish my own, I tend to kind of just go heads down and don't really look at what anyone else is covering. I don't want their biases to leak into my work.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of only aware what Twitter and Reddit is saying.
Okay. I mean, Reddit's been fairly broad on this topic. And I know there's been, there's the Reddit art, like YouTube drama Reddit, which has had accusations of that sweeping. With kind of the Discord logs, you said you've got them, but you haven't really like read through them all yet. Have you? But you've seen the screenshots. Like, what are your initial impressions of those?
I think they're bad. I think is the TLDR simple thing. I like having private conversations like that where you're discussing how I'm not their parent and why do we have to scrub the NSFW channel, or that we need to scrub the NSFW channel, is eyebrow raising at the very least.
But I mean, there are those 3 of those mods are minors, right?
It's Nathan, Lava, who's the third?
Cookie.
Okay.
Good God, like came out and we spoke to them, and they were 16 at the time.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I never understood why Ava was having this work relationship with minors, only that I thought it was to try to get free labor. It's like the Colleen Ballinger thing.
Well, I mean, we're talking about massive creators here. They could have got free labor from sort of anybody. Most people are quite happy to be a Janny for Reddit or Discord. It's like the idea that, oh, well, these people are minors, or you're not age checking and things. And I mean, the baseline is that they are creating content for a younger group of people, and they seem to have just been, it's not that they had no protections. It seemed that they were completely oblivious to this fact. I mean, in those logs, it is Lava, who at the time is 14 or 15, explaining to Chris that she should probably delete that channel, which seems insane. And I mean, wouldn't you agree?
I think, like, I've interviewed many, many top creators, your KSI, your Pauls, Ninja. And I think when they are smaller, they don't realize how to be an influencer. They don't realize the power and impact that they have on the offset. Imagine being handed a golden ticket and not sure how to find Willy Wonka. There's a good portion of creators that eventually learn. Mr. Beast learned how to be PR friendly, but judging from those old podcast clips and judging from everything that's been shared recently, they didn't necessarily start out that way. So the fact that Chris didn't understand how exactly to go about it isn't that shocking to me. I usually tend to lean on someone not understanding rather than malicious intent. But
well, I mean,
we don't know.
I mean, you're right making an argument from the fact that Chris was an influencer and had that power structure. I'd kind of strip some of that away from them and say they were an adult. They were in their they were around 20 in their 20s with this server, and had minors where they were clearly having, again, being good faith, very, very inappropriate conversations. And now we've got screenshots come out. I can't verify these. They have come from the same source as the mod chat. of Chris's private server, which had full-on, like, we've got images of like full-on hentai posted in that.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, so I mean, and that's a separate thing, and so you can make the influencer argument, but just from a person-to-person perspective, what you have is an adult with minors that they are DMing, and everyone's aware of those relationships. I mean, that's
I think
pretty concerning.
it's still. I think the parallel works because there's still both power dynamics. It's just instead of an influencer power dynamic, it's an age power dynamic, where someone is using their age where they should know better and then ignoring that to talk to someone that they shouldn't. Like, it's still just power dynamics without getting into the creepy sexual content.
Sure. Okay.
I mean, what it feels like to me, it feels like it's a similar thing where it's like, Beckett, you're like wanting something stronger. Like, it comes across a bit like, I said this in a chat, like Israel-Palestine, to make it a bit more political. But it's like people are insisting that what's happening is a genocide, and there's a disagreement about that, and other people are saying, no, it's not a genocide, and things can be bad without being a genocide. And it's like, so, he's not calling it grooming, but Beckett, you are like wanting him to call it something stronger, right? Is that where we are?
I think it's more the fact that when you come on and the first thing you say is, well, the problems of transphobia around it. It's what I'm pointing to is you're going to get a certain reaction, which you got from chat, which you'll get generally. And it's like, well, okay, well, let's look at what's actually in front of us and what matters. So again, I haven't used the word grooming. Like I'm quite careful around that word, and same as Chud. I think that's important. But yeah, I think the response, it's interesting to see a response that's quite clinical at points like this. Whereas like when we have more general dramas or things or stuff happening, it seems a bit more easy to throw out those accusations.
Okay, but how is Steven responsible for that? I mean, what criticism would you have his article? Because there's lots of crazy shit that happens that I don't think you can really let Steven's feet, despite him being a soy lefty. Like, I don't know, what is it specifically about what he's written that you think is bad or wrong, or something like that?
I don't think it's necessarily bad or wrong. I think it just points in a. I think it would be nice if like we just focused in on, well, this is the thing that happened in those conversations, in those communities. And that seems to be the core one. And like we can focus on the fact that people like Prism are clearly not upholding the standards we want. I think they've got very fair criticism for not doing that. But it's also Steven's like an experienced journalist. He works in that world. And I think there's also that interesting thing of he sees the other side, which we don't necessarily, as to why people are reading these stories in the way they are and reporting them in the wider press.
I think, I think I've been a big proponent, and we need more digital culture writers out there. We need people who live and breathe Reddit, who like grew up on Newgrounds, and like understand that the internet is a complicated, messy place that you really need to live in order to cover properly. You can't just come in, see a few headlines, and then try to, discern the conversation around it. I think there have been many, many bad stories about digital culture over the years.
Mm-hmm. One example, the 4chan story on, what was it, Fox News years ago. Do you remember that?
I don't think I do.
Yeah.
They were talking, it's very clear the way they were talking about it. They had no idea what 4chan was or how it worked. And I think you get the same thing now, where people have got no idea, like you say, about how it works, and they come and talk about it anyway.
It's boomers going in. The one that always comes to mind is the PewDiePie, I think it was Wall Street Journal story that basically started the adpocalypse.
Oh, yeah.
It didn't understand, who PewDiePie is. If you try to boil him down and claim that he is a Nazi, you don't understand PewDiePie. I don't think PewDiePie is a Nazi. I think he's an edgelord. Big difference. And I think that story missed that point entirely and tried to muddy the waters, and eventually had massive catastrophic change to YouTube and the entire internet ecosystem. So I think the press has a massive amount of power that without proper digital culture knowledge isn't being used well and can be dangerous to the overall ecosystem we exist in. I want better coverage online. If you look at my stories, you'll see weird stuff about VTubers and like furries and whatever's popular on Twitch, because like that's the stuff I'm seeing, and I want to make sure that the people who know how the internet works see me as legitimate. That matters a lot to me. And then I agree, the overall press does not do a good job at it. The press in general is being defunded. Venture capitalists have come and bought up so many. I think I cut out. So many. They've just cut off so much of the resources journalists need to be able to do their job, which is where YouTubers have stepped in.
Yeah, I think that's a lot clearer than what it sounded like when this kind of call started. And yeah, I think that's pretty reasonable. If that's your approach, I just wish there was more people doing it, frankly. Because it would be nice if every time there was something like a serious incident, like a shooting, media wasn't picking up Sam Hyde jokes and running with shit like that.
That shit pisses me off so much. Whenever I see that Sam Hyde picture on like a boomer's Facebook account or like a USA Today random thing, I'm just like, please, just wait 5 minutes. It's not the $1 million extreme guy. Relax.
Yeah. I mean, obviously there's a lot of, I mean, we're all just kind of agreeing now. So I don't know, but yeah, I mean, obviously there's a lot.
Lame. No, the chat doesn't want to see this. Just, let's start more hate. What you got?
Let's bring Magdalene.
No, listen,
cool. I think that's clear for me. So,
well, thanks for coming on, Beckett. Okay, is there anything else?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Take care, guys. Thanks much.
Okay. Yeah, I think what I can discern then, I think, I've obviously put across some of my disagreements, I guess, with this. I think that the biggest concern here is that you're not willing to use the word grooming. I think there's a lot of other agreement with things that you're saying. My perspective on it is, as I say, to me, it's not essential that someone uses the word grooming as long as they give adequate condemnation of the situation. So yeah, I don't know what else there is to really say about that. One more thing I actually wanted to ask, if it's okay, is what do you think though of Mr. Beast's decision to get rid of Ava Kris Tyson?
I think it was PR driven. I think they had a call with the bigwigs. I wouldn't be surprised if Amazon was involved. And they had to say something.
Right.
I reached out to Mr. Beast right before the comment of his came out on Twitter. I think, it's similar to like the Jack Black Kyle Gass thing, where like enough internet pressure was put on a very tenuous and internet tense situation that a PR statement needed to get made. Because the Chris Shadman stuff has been known for years. Like that's not new information. I don't know how true this clip is, but I remember seeing, Mr. Beast on a live stream and makes some eye movement after seeing a Shadman reference. So that could just be getting misinfoed.
I guess I agree with this PR move, but I guess what I'm really getting at is, do you think, based on the evidence available, it was the right decision from the perspective of Mr. Beast being like essentially a children's entertainment channel?
Sure. Yeah. I think he needed to make some form of statement in distancing himself from Ava as much as possible. Did the job. I think the problem is that like I don't think this was necessarily the newest information. Like
I see. Okay.
Like
so you think it should have happened a while ago if it was going to happen, basically?
Yeah, I don't like when internet drama turns into PR move.
Right.
It's just like it feels disingenuous to me, and just sort of feels like trying to appease the beast.
Right. Got it. Okay.
It's less genuine when it's something that like has been aware. Like, you had that post. Like, I think if we don't know if it was always there, but in one of the videos, the Shadman poster was on their shared apartment wall.
Yeah. Well, my word is my bond on this. Okay, as you know, I'm a very a journalist of some renown, according to you. But they've actually edited that out of the original video. The original video was up on YouTube. It was about 12 minutes long. I've double checked this, triple checked this. They edited that portion out of the video.
Yeah.
And it was up a week ago. So they've literally just done it after this controversy happened.
Because I don't think they found it.
Right,
It's, Mr. Beast's catalog is massive. I don't really think of Mr. Beast as a YouTuber anymore. I think there are a few creators that have elevated past just being YouTubers into blown giant brands. I think most YouTubers these days, when they reach a certain point, become a brand. They start selling merch. They start selling, toys on small scale. But creators like, Logan Paul or Mr. Beast or Ninja a few years ago are like corporations with dozens, if not hundreds of employees. This decision isn't up to Mr. Beast anymore. It's up to the entity in which he's created. Um, that's just kind of the way things seem to have gone, which you know has its positives that creators are now becoming more mainstream and are getting traditional media stuff in terms of like shows and access, but it also comes with the same PR pitfalls. The internet was a messy place a decade ago. Like the things I've seen on Newgrounds that then ended up, becoming Adult Swim inspired shows, is just, part of the game. The internet was a different place, and now we're having to deal with the repercussions of that internet and the history that it inhabited.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like there's clips of Mr. Beast now that are circulating. And I mean, I don't know. I would imagine I've probably got more of an appetite for edgy stuff this year in 2024. But I look at it and I think, okay, so he's making some crass jokes about black people in what, 2014? Like,
Yeah.
how on earth can you possibly claim to care about that when the standard was so much different back then? And, you could say a lot of things that you're not allowed to say now on these platforms, right?
Yeah, I mean, like look at the clip that's going around with the Leon Lush podcast, where
Yeah,
he,
yeah.
basically says, "I want to say something edgy," and then says something edgy. The internet is forever. It's it's why when people are posting on their personal social media hate speech, like that could come back to haunt you. This shit never goes away. And imagine if you become a multi-million-dollar YouTuber with a massive brand and audience. People are going to be looking even closer at the stuff you used to do,
Yeah.
and then it becomes a scandal.
Yeah, I don't think people want to be doing that because there's a couple of, well, we don't need to get into that, but let's just say if you dug a bit deeper, there might be some shows that I do on this channel that you may have a problem with, okay? Okay, let me put it to you like this. Actually, no, listen, I'm not going to put it to you like that, okay? No, listen, I think that in any case, people are moaning about the yapping. People want me to go harder. I mean, I've said this before. I don't really care what chat thinks. I do what I think is right. I don't really think there's much more to go hard on. I feel like we've got fair disagreements, reasonable agreements. You're not willing to use a certain word. Yeah, I think. Listen, if I'm really blunt with you, I do
Yeah.
think that there's an implicit bias that's playing in your behavior in some way with the trans stuff. I must say.
Sure. I think that's okay. We all have biases.
Okay.
We all live in a society with the world. I try not to let
Okay.
my biases impact my reporting. I, I just thought what I thought, and I put it in the story. Like, yeah, I don't, I understand chat wants blood sports, and I'm willing to give a little bit, but I think when it comes to the overall conversation about, the trans issue, it's just, if you try to use it as a weapon, it just, kind of ruins your argument. That's basically my point when it comes to the trans issue, when it comes to the Tyson situation.
Okay.
You
Do you
know,
think do you think that your analysis of this might be different if, like, I don't know, say the quartering or someone further to the right than that? I don't know, Andrew Tate. This came out about Andrew Tate. Say, like, do you think you might be using stronger language if the facts were the exact same?
if Andrew Tate was talking to people, talking to minors the same way publicly and on Discord,
Yeah, yeah.
I it's a hard comparison because I don't think he would, but I wouldn't, if the facts were exactly the same, I wouldn't call it grooming either.
Okay,
Like,
interesting.
It's not, again, it's not about who Tyson is when it comes to their sexual identity. It's about the facts that they have. It's about what they've done. It's about the Discord logs. It's about the tweets from Lava to Lava. That's, to me, what is important and what needs to be talked about here. When you start, screaming at someone and misgendering them and the flies, it kind of makes it hard to see the rest of your, argument.
Okay, and another thing, just I don't want to take up too much time. I guess I will make this a final question, really, because this I think is a good thing to end on. Can you speak
Cancel
at all?
me.
Can you speak at all to some of the discourse and the comparisons into Dr. Disrespect? For example, people demanding, you've not made a video about this, but you made a video about Dr. Disrespect. What's going on? Any sort of commentary on that discourse that's been happening?
First of all, I think when fans demand creators talk about certain subjects, I always find it cringy. A creator is the reason they're a YouTuber and not working what I'm doing is that they have full autonomy and can do anything they want to do. So if they don't want to talk on a certain subject, that's their prerogative. I definitely, with the Dr. Disrespect comparison, we know so little about that. We don't know the age of the individual. Mind you, I find both of what they did to be cringy and unacceptable when it comes to both the influencer power dynamic and age power dynamic. I think they're both bad. But when it comes to a direct comparison, we just know more with the Tyson situation because of everything that's leaked and everything that's come out. The Doc ordeal was like, when Doc got banned, I was working at Newsweek, and it was like the biggest news on the internet. And that mystery behind why Doc got banned remained dormant for, until it just came out. And I think that level of mystery is kind of what made the Doc story blow up in the way that they did. The Tyson situation was the opposite of a mystery because it was right in the public. It just wasn't being talked about. So I think there are comparisons that can be made between the two, but I don't think it's a direct one-to-one. And don't beg a creator to talk about a thing you want because they are not your parents, as Tyson said.
Yeah, I mean, I have this as well. It's like I don't mind people asking me to talk about stuff. They want to hear my take, but people will be like, "Oh, cover this, cover this, cover this, cover this," and it's like I don't want to for whatever reason. I don't want to cover that, and it's like I don't think anyone should be obligated to cover anything. But I do agree that if you go in super hard with let's say there's 10 instances of a sexual scandal, and you go in hard at all of them, and then the 11th one happens to be a trans person, and you don't bother talking about it. I think that can be discerned that, okay, I think there's a reason that maybe you don't want to talk about it. Like maybe it's politically inconvenient, that particular story for you. But, I think that broadly speaking, like Most Critical, I think, did what he did with the Dr. Disrespect stuff. He made a video and people like Sneeko were still criticizing him, even though he did what, they wanted him to do,
I think on the internet, it is incredibly hard to discern good faith criticism from bad faith criticism. Because everyone's voice is exactly the same volume and the letters are the same font. Yeah. It can be hard to figure out when someone is actually curious about a situation, wants to learn more, and when someone else has an agenda and is just trying to troll you to make you look as bad as possible. When I was a younger reporter, I would definitely argue with people more and, got more personal when it came to the way people viewed my stories. But I think just being as my old editor put it, middle-aged by journalism standards. It's just it's impossible to do and not lose your mind in all of it.
How do you think this will all affect Tipster's legacy?
I reached out to Tipster maybe 6 months to a year ago when he was going through his whole ordeal, and he was like, I shat on you pretty hard, why are you reaching out? Like, I don't know, I feel bad. And then he blocked me. So I haven't
Okay.
I haven't really kept up with Tipster. Definitely one of the cringier members from that era of commentary.
Sure. Okay.
Mm.
Yeah. I guess. I think that was everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If
I
there's
don't know.
anything else,
Yeah.
I
I tell
cover
you
the
what.
internet quite often.
Yeah. I tell you what. Just very quickly, for like 5 minutes or so, just in case anyone
Sure.
thinks that I've missed anything. Chat. Have you got anything you want to ask? Please keep it somewhat serious, if critical, or whatever you want to say. Okay. Just to make sure we've covered everything. All right.
Does anyone want me to trash talk Chris Hansen?
Well, I mean, there was a comment earlier. I think people more want you to comment on Slasher.
Slasher. I
Yeah.
mean, like, I have like, I think he never should have tweeted about Doctor Disrespect at the beginning, and it's been haunting him for all of these years.
Yeah.
I think that's my Slasher hot take.
Okay. Will you release the Isabella Jank interview?
Maybe one day. The problem is, it's like she basically pretended to be someone else. She like catfished me and like created a fake friend to do the interview through, but it was clearly her. Like, I have the whole story written. It's just sitting in my Google Docs. It was supposed to be for Business Insider, but they killed it. Maybe one day I'll just drop it somewhere and be like, "You want to know what actually happened with the Chris Chan stuff? Kind of crazy."
Okay. I might be throwing you to the wolves here. If anyone shows up at your house, it's not my fault, okay? Do you think Kiwi Farms can be used as a source?
Yeah.
There we go.
Think,
Easy peasy.
yeah, I think it's a awful place, full of terrible language, but like, it's the internet.
Okay.
Everything is a source.
Sure. Okay. Okay. The Leviathans are coming. Okay. Okay. So listen, I will throw this in now. I'm a bit loath to do it. Okay. Take this as you will. I do a show. Okay, and it's called Rate Review. Now, it sounds horrendous. Okay, but the point is to fairly assess claims of sexual misconduct. Normally ones that are posted in the Twitlong and they don't have much merit to them. There's some people in chat asking if I can get a rate review column at Rolling Stone.
I don't think they're going to accept that pitch, but you're more than welcome to send me an email.
Okay, good stuff. Okay. Damn. Okay, there's a lot of people saying stuff. Weaponizing trans. What about when trans people do this? Okay, I feel like we've covered that already, to be honest. I think we've hashed out this idea that both sides are engaging in identity politics with this shit. So okay. Any
Everybody stop.
Okay. Any thoughts on any comment on Keffals at all?
I never really followed that.
Okay.
Oh,
fair enough.
Like,
okay.
If I haven't covered it, chances are I just didn't follow it.
Sure. Okay. Do you ever worry about backlash or being hurt because of the journalism that you do?
I've been doxxed. I've, had all the awful hate slurs thrown against me. I just think when you cover people in ways that they don't like, you can tend to get a lot of anger back. I remember when I pissed off Steven Crowder's fan base in like 2018, and like it drove me to madness. Just having to deal with that much of a loud echo chamber screaming at me. Physically, I did get something thrown at my head at a FaZe Clan pop-up shop a few years ago, but I don't think that was due to my journalism. That was just because I was around a FaZe Clan pop-up.
Okay, so this here, why up? So I think it's the same to you. Why are you so averse to really understanding emotionally disturbing Discord logs?
I am very not adverse to it. I just am only halfway through them. Very long.
Okay, sure. So, I mean, this is my question. Do you think there's any chance that you might update the article with further information once you've read through the logs?
If anything, it'll probably be a follow-up.
I see. So a separate article, possibly. Okay.
Yeah, I think that article's probably going to stay as is because Nathan's tweet didn't come out till like 30 minutes after I published.
Got it. Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Do you think the Sam Hyde hate from the left is justified?
Yes. Okay.
No, be honest. Be honest. Be honest.
I just want chat to understand I am a soy boy lefty. I am a professional journalist who would like to continue operating within the space and getting paid. But I do believe he is a white nationalist. He has spread a lot of rhetoric pushing that ideology. And you know, that is not good. I guess that's about as far as I'm going to go.
No. Fair enough. We don't need to hash that out necessarily. I mean, I guess do you think it was correct that his Adult Swim show was cancelled?
I never watched it, but I'm not surprised that a donation to the Daily Stormer, getting press, ended up with his Adult Swim show getting canceled.
But do you agree with it? Yes or no?
Yes or no? Sure. Why not?
Okay. Do you have any opinions on your fellow internet journo, Taylor Lorenz?
She is an interesting person who I talk with sometimes, and I don't like the way she covered Mr. Beast originally.
Okay, interesting.
There you go. We're doing rapid fire cancellations.
Yes, definitely. Okay, and I guess I will end on this. There's lots more questions, but I do want to wrap this up. The final thing I'm going to ask you, and I appreciate this might be complicated to answer. It's a two-parter. The first part is, do you think Mr. Beast knew?
Knew about the knew about the conversations with fans, and knew about the Shadman Lolicon stuff. I don't 100% know if he was aware of the former, but the fact that the poster was on the wall and the fact that he posted on social media about it so much, and Jimmy responded, I think, to something tangential. Please don't cancel me if I'm wrong. He knew about that.
Okay. And the final point that I wanted to ask you is, I've seen rumors. Oh wait, sorry, someone paid money to ask this. Have you looked into Ava's connection to Gene Hollywood, the pedo pink pillar, who is friendly with Giggly Goon Clown?
You're not saying real words.
Okay.
You're just
no, that is a real thing. I know about this. So what? You don't know? Is that your claim? What's the deal?
Sure. If that's like, was that the thing in the Fedmeister video?
I'm not sure. It's
no, I don't think so. Then,
okay.
Then no, I'm not entirely sure.
Okay. Right. The final thing I'm going to ask is this. Okay. So the final thing is this. There's rumors that Mr. Beast is putting pressure on articles that are reporting about this story. Do you think there's any weight to a claim like that?
No. No. I like the people who are covering this story are covering it the way they want to cover it. Like, I just published a big story on Rolling Stone and he didn't even respond to me. I doubt he is putting pressure on any articles. That sounds like a conspiracy theory, but I'm happy to be proven wrong if that ends up happening.
Okay, well, listen, I mean, I think between me and chat and Beckett, I think that's everything. Listen, thank you so much for your time. You stayed much longer than you said you would, so I really appreciate that.
What?
Yeah, I mean, is there anything you want to shout out before we end this?
If you guys don't be horribly mean to me, follow me on X/Twitter at I am Asarch, ASARCH.
Okay. Good stuff. Okay.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Pleasure.
Yeah, what an experience.
All the best. Have a good one.
All right, bye, man.
Cheers. Bye. Hey, I really, really enjoyed that. That was great. You guys are fucking crazy. I'll do super chats, so I'll turn them off as well. To be honest with you, I mean, I know some of you are very disappointed with his unwillingness to use certain terminology. Which, you know, I think, oh, wait. Oh, it was, I switched it off. Which, you know, I think I'm at the position where I'm happy to call it grooming. Okay. I think I'm comfortable with that. But, you know, dude, I think you guys are acting a bit too much like the fucking genocide shit. Okay. You know, there's definitely some terminology like cringy that I didn't personally think was appropriate way of describing this behavior. But, you know, I just think you at the risk of getting to the point where it's like, you know, if you must call it grooming. And I'm like, if you what term did he use? Like sexual is a stronger term than just inappropriate. It was sexual something. You know? I can't remember what it was called. Anyway, you know, that take there, I was like, okay, well, as long as you're willing to say that, okay? Like, that's cool with me. I don't think, you know, I don't think we need to fucking get into this debate. I mean, dude, like, literally, I've seen fucking debates about genocide that are the same, where it's like, you must. I know, I thought it was stronger than sexually inappropriate. Maybe I'm wrong. But anyway, in any case, I just feel like, you know, it's like, I watch those genocide combos sometimes in my free time because I don't watch that shit on stream anymore. And I'm just like, God, people are so insistent that it gets called this thing. And if it doesn't get called this thing, then it's bad. But I'm like, I mean, define grooming, define genocide. I mean, bro, it's the same shit, okay? That, you know, as long as we can have a bit of backwards and forwards, I'm not looking to get someone to go, yes, it's grooming. I'm not looking for someone to go, yes, it's genocide. Just have a fucking convo about it, you know? So I don't know, dude. I just feel like some of you need to chill out a little bit in terms of like, I get you want it to be called a certain thing. Yeah, it's like semantics almost. Yeah, exactly. You know, I would say that, as I said in the conversation with him, I think a stronger words would I prefer. I think he was still holding back in terms of the strength of language to describe it, you know? Um, but you know, I don't think he's like a fucking nonce or anything. Like you guys were like calling him a pedo and shit. Like, bro, chill out. Jesus Christ, dude. Dude, exactly. He's a fucking like soy boy lefty, self-professed. And he's willing to hash it out. I mean, that's respectable in and of itself. Yeah, predatory. Yeah, Alanar, that would be a good word. If I'd have thought of that, you know, would you call it predatory? Something like that. I mean, yeah, look, obviously, you know, I was kind of rolling my eyes a bit at the misgender and stuff, okay? I'm not on the other side of it necessarily, but I definitely am away from deep concern about misgendering. But, you know, I don't know, dude. What can you do? It's a fucking, you know, soy mentality, isn't it? I tried to educate some of you on the mass media, on mainstream media, but I fear it didn't work. I fear it didn't work. Chud thinks you okay, Bruno Lima. You sound like the fucking same soy leftoids that go on about genocide. Absolutely worthless, subhuman pond scum. Okay, literally don't care about the definition game. Okay, what matters to me is: are you looking at the behavior? Are you fairly assessing it? And are you condemning it with the right flavor of language? The exact word doesn't really mean that much to me. What matters to me is how strong is the condemnation. Now, I agree that he could have used stronger terminology, and I think that would be better for him to do that. But, you know, it doesn't have to be the exact word. Like, fucking hell, dude. And yeah, obviously, you know, he is very heavy on the trans stuff, but bro, I've got to be honest with you, okay? I've got to be real with you guys. I talked about this a bit earlier. Too much fucking annoyance from you guys. But fuck me. You've got to see that you look out there and it is... Dude, I'm going to get banned on Twitch for this. Okay? Pedophilic troon caught molesting child. Obviously going to happen. That's just what trans people do. The LGBT are all pedophiles. Bro, you've got to see that that's the wrong tone. It's too much, bro. I don't want to get banned for that, please. I'm being satirical, Twitch, okay? But you must see. You've got to understand that when that is the narrative, okay, I agree it's wrong to go the other direction and be like, oh, there's so much trans hate, guys, and what about the misgendering? But you've got to admit that that is going to turn people off. Like, come on, bro. It's just ridiculous. AGP men are overrepresented in Silicon Valley. You do have to engage in self-preservation if you're an online type. You made us into this. I don't think, listen, people in chat were going base. No, I'm being satirical, okay? I don't think it's a case that I've made chat anything. There's plenty of old heads that I see that are like more along with my more moderate takes on things. It's that I do not have, I mean, as much as I get one guide, I try hard not to ban people. And I think that sometimes people do engage in stuff which in other chats you probably would get banned in. But I'm just a more open-minded, like, say as you wish in chat. You know, I don't want to fucking ban people for breaking some sort of social, because I think it just fucks up the kind of, it kind of fucks up the flavor of chat. I want people to be in here that have got crazy takes and, say funny shit. I mean, some of this is funny, and I'm happy to laugh at it. But yeah, I'm not looking to ban people super hard. So I think people end up coming here and staying, whereas otherwise they might get fucking banned. But I just, I think I'm often reminding and saying what I think about things. So hopefully people don't watch me and think, oh, well, this guy's my based gigachad, anti-Semite, bigot, whatever. Because that's not me. I am a progressive-minded person. I just, obviously have issues with the excesses of progressive shit. And I think that there's a level of dishonesty which is completely untenable, which is why I've moved away from them, So, but, I still have got progressive values and views on things. I just am willing to have a laugh and a joke about it, Yes, dude, I am exceptionally progressive, okay? Particularly, like, in my fucking country. If you talk to me in a bar, if a normie talked to me in the bar, they'd pin me as a fucking progressive person 100%. What you want about? You're comparing it to, like, fucking some crazed communist or something. Like, obviously, I don't believe in the fucking, Marxist-Leninist shit or something. But yes, I am quite progressive. I mean, I voted for Labour, for fuck's sake. Food Shops thinks I'm centre-right because all they care about is trans issues. And I don't have the exact correct take for the progressives on trans issues. Fucking hell. I do my best, okay? I do my best to not be too transphobic, okay? No, I'm a Labour voter. I've never voted Tories in my life. But anyway, I think it works because although you probably roll your eyes if I'm giving some soy take, we can still have a laugh. And that's do you know what? Thinking about it, that's the kind of mentality that I want. I want it to be like you go to the fucking parasocial, you go to the bar with your mates. Some of your mates are racist, are bigoted, they say crazy shit, but you still have a laugh. It doesn't matter. It's not, you don't cut someone off because they got some crazy take. You're like, have a laugh about it, right? Now, I remember speaking to a friend about trans issues, and they were saying that this is a few years ago now. They were saying the most horrendous things I've ever heard. It was terrible. It was terrible. It was like a fucking trans genocide in that conversation. And obviously, I disagreed sincerely with the things that he was saying. But then we had a laugh about it, and we fucking had a beer and talked about something else. That's what it's all about. That's what life is about, So yeah, I don't know, dude. It's just like all this fucking, oh, you've got the wrong social take here, the wrong social take there. No, fuck that. I understand it creates difficulty, okay? Obviously, I'm sure there's some trans people that wouldn't dare come here because they get fucking called all sorts of... Well, I don't know if they would. Some people would. Some people would be fair. I mean, Food Shops is here for one thing. So, yeah. This stream has changed me so much. And I have a friend who was at the insurrection. Hey, Nicholas, how's it going? Anyway, no, that was a good combo. I think it was good to throw it to chat as well. But yeah, there wasn't really any. I don't think we kind of covered it already. Okay, right. I do like Beckett, okay? I do like Beckett. But I've got to be honest with you. Coming in and not knowing that there's different journalists that have written different articles for Rolling Stone was an L, okay? That was an L. Like, you should have known that if you wanted to come in and fucking... Oh... But, you know, other than that, I mean, everything was fine, I think. Wait,
okay, that's wonderful.
That's not really food shops. That's another Asian.
People?
That's another Asian trans who I do not believe is into the L word. Smaggling food shop. Oh, dude, really? I've got other things to get to. I wanted to cover that big, long schizo video. Oh, dude, Smaggle got a mega load, bro. He mega load, didn't he?